I'm 71, and in my lifetime, I can't think of a time in which leadership was more needed, more challenging, and maybe more difficult to come to. And I think if you're in a leadership role, also the moral responsibility of being in that position is pretty dangerous and substantive, because if you fail to meet those needs, you're not serving the clientele you're leading, and that, I think, has a moral accountability to it. We're also looking at a lot of things where people are stepping forward and in the middle of crisis and making it possible for our lives to stay as rich as they can and to be comfortable. And a lot of those folks are not necessarily the folks that we've worshiped or glorified. So when I go to a grocery store, if there weren't folks in there, if there weren't people like the farms I just looked at still operating, if there weren't people replenishing those shelves, if there weren't wonderful cashiers there helping me, if those people are, I mean, flat out, they always were important.
But
now if we don't recognize
yeah.
how important that they are in our lives, or the people who keep the facility of our internet up and operating so I can stay in communication with my grandkids and stay working.
Yeah.
And our infrastructure to continue to operate. I'm just down to Mayo Clinic talking about how they're moving most of their medicine onto online experience.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of innovation has to happen. Who's doing that?
In general, it's folks that traditionally we have considered at kind of the front line, bottom, introduction level of our business,
and that's the key word.
Right.
They're not at the bottom.
Right.
They never were at the bottom, right?
Right.
They really are integral to our lives. And one of the things I've always felt is you're never going to get financial rewards lined up with value.
Yeah.
And if you're in leadership, one of your responsibilities is to make sure people, just think about us, right? What happens when I do something and it's not appreciated, and it's not recognized, and it's not understood? First of all, I'm not likely to do it as well as I could. And even if I do, I'm going to have a building anger because that's not recognized in relationship to what my real contribution is to your life.
Correct, yeah. Well, and, so one of the things I've been thinking about a lot myself is how much of everything we do, our society, our government, our businesses, leadership, is built around trust.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that so many of the problems that we see in all of these areas come back to trust, right?
Yes.
People have lost a sense of trust in government, for instance, in institutions, in business, right? People right now, even those with a job, are not necessarily sure their job's going to be there tomorrow,
right?
Because they know so many people for whom it was there one day and gone the next. They have no trust that, should they lose their job, that they'll be able to keep their health care. They have no trust that, and when all of that trust begins to break down in so many areas, the very kind of seams of what holds our society together.
But this really is good because this goes to the core challenge of leadership.
Right.
Because I can't actually answer that as a leader,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody predicted COVID.
Right.
Nobody in industries, I've been on the board of the American Film Institute forever, that industry's been shut down, right?
Completely.
Right? I mean, it's just like, so nobody can tell you, and the consequence to that.
Oh my gosh.
And the government can only print money for so long.
Yes.
Right? So we're all in a journey together.
And money itself is based on trust.
But absolutely, right? In terms of we're doing the things that lead to hyperinflation. So
correct.
If you're in a leadership role, you have a responsibility. If you're stepping into that role, this is as serious a time as you can get.
Yeah.
Because you can't sell a false promise to somebody.
Correct.
And on the other hand, you really got to face up to who's delivering on it and where the innovation is actually occurring in your business that allows you to continue to serve in ways where lots of things that you were used to have been taken away.
Yeah.
And that goes to the core of why you lead. And it goes to the core of understanding really the purpose of what you're doing. We put all these things up there like how much you get paid, but for most of us, the most important thing is what feeds our personal sense of significance in life. And that, I think, is the most important thing somebody does in a leadership role, is help people see. If the world thinks you're on the bottom rung, and I know, because I'm working with you, that you're not, my job as a leader is to make you do whatever I can to help you understand and to try to have the structure of the organizations that I'm leading, whatever that size of organization is, reflect the significance of the work. Yeah. And if you can't see the significance of the work that we do for each other and how much we're dependent on that, right? So one of the reasons we're fearful is we don't know any of these things could get interrupted. And they really could get interrupted. And we're depending on trust of somebody else. Well, I think as citizens, we got the responsibility to reflect our gratitude for that trust. And for those of us in leadership, we're really needed. But we've got to have a premise that has us really looking at the value that is created in the work that we do. And when we talk about moral capitalism at the Caux Roundtable, it's built on the morality of the service that you provide to your customer. And the people that provide that service to your customer are the people who touch that customer.
Right.
And there's those of us that touch the people who touch the customer, but we've got to recognize that in relationship to the order of priority. And I think this is a pretty sacred time. And for any of us that have had the chance to lead, it's a time we've got to step up and really go to the foundations underneath our leadership. Or if you can't find the foundation, get out of the way.
I think that's a great place to end it. Thanks.
Thanks.